Hello, my name is Danae Stafford, and this is my Module 4 um, Digital Resources assignment. And I'm going to go through 5 resources that I found, and we will look at the pros and cons. For reference, my educational context is a public library. I am a circulation assistant there. So I kind of have a long range. So it's kind of just all over the place, but it makes sense to me. So I'm going to go to my browser. Um, I'm using Microsoft Edge, but all of these are available online for free. There are at least free facets of them. The first resource is this one. It's called Research Rabbit. Basically, you just go to researchrabbitapp.com and you put in an email address and you get all of this for free. And this is basically like a citation mining resource that I honestly wish I would have known about sooner. What you do is if you're writing like a research paper, really any paper where you're going to have sources, you can create a collection and add your resource papers either by title, DOI by clicking that green button. And then once you add in the DOI, it'll say add, and that's how they populate, and they populate in here. So you could have multiple different papers, anything like that. I have this paper here as an example. So this is what it looks like when it's in there. It gives you a link to actually go out to where the source could be located online. It will generate a PDF if that's available and if it's open access. And then it generates the summary into here as well for quick reading, and you could also add a comment down here. So what's really cool about this are these options over here. So the first thing you can do is you can click this button here, similar work, and it will give you similar papers to the one that you have found, which is really interesting, and it will generate quite a bit. It also gives you this kind of like connections map over here that you can either do by network, how closely related something is, or you can do it by timeline. So you can get earlier papers, newer papers, things like that. You can also sort or filter them up here through relevance, recency, number of citations, all of that. So that's a cool tool if you need more references. The really cool part as well is that if you go back over here and you click all references, this is all of the papers that were referenced in your original paper. So this makes it very, very easy to see what the references are, but also which ones are like the newest if you were to sort it by recency. So that way you're not having to go and like look through and then, I don't know, it just makes that part of trying to find more resources much easier and much more attainable. And you can see how connected they are over here. And then you can also do all citations. And so this is kind of the opposite direction. It shows you all of the papers that have cited your current paper. So these are going to be newer than the paper that you put in. I think this is probably the most useful one because this is the hardest to find like on a database. Because it's just kind of finicky and like a lot of people might have this last name Martin. So this is just really a cool thing. And then once you click one of these links, it'll take you directly to that source. And I just think this is a really cool option that honestly you could start with in, I think, high school. Really your first research paper, I wish I would have been shown this. So for students that we have at the library, or really anybody who's writing research papers, it's definitely something I would recommend to them now that I know that it exists because it'll just keep all of these sources and you can just find even more and they should be pretty relevant and it just makes that part, it takes a lot of the guesswork out. So that's my first one, that's Research Rabbit. The next one, again, like I said, there's kind of a long range here, but my next one is a typing practice site called TypeRacer. There's a lot of options here. You can create an account. That's probably what you would want to do. It is free. You can enter typing races. This kind of puts you against other users online. It's anonymous, but you can do that. You can change the theme, change the language, instant death mode. This is kind of a more fun thing. What I would probably use are these two, either this race your friends like in a classroom setting or really this typing test where you practice yourself. And what I really like about this, I'm going to try to multitask here. I like that it kind of gives you a real time words per minute on the right hand side. You're kind of just sort of racing yourself, and I really like that because it takes a little bit of the stress off, but you can see how you're doing and kind of be realistic about it. And the really cool thing is once you finish one of these, it gives you real-time updates. So my speed was 65 words per minute. I had 98.8 accuracy rate. You can save up to 10 daily without an account, or you can upgrade to paid, which I don't think you would have to do. And then you can see where it came from. They usually use pop culture, games, movies, songs. You can also re-watch your typing to kind of watch in real time what went wrong or what went right. Just kind of your speed, your cadence. I think this is really useful because I think the best way to learn is to review. And this really helps with that. And it keeps this real time thing here and all of that. And then down here, it gives you your speed through the race and your mistakes, which are links. So you can click and see where you kind of messed up, where your mistakes were. I am one of the primary instructors for a free computer basics class for adults that we have at the library. It meets every other month. And a lot of people who come to that class struggle with typing, using a mouse, typing the very basics. And so this would be a fun way. You could put the whole class against each other, but this is something they could take home with them and use. And I think one of my cons about this one is that there's just a lot happening on the screen, a lot of ads. And there's just a lot you can do, which I think for most people would be fun. Like this is a blog, this pit stop thing, updates, there's Discord. For I think maybe a younger demographic, that's exciting, but for my demographic and older demographic, I would really have to walk them through this because this is just a lot of information. They would get very confused. But if I could get them to this page and then just tell them which button to click, I think it could be a very useful tool. On to the next one. So I'm actually surprised I didn't know about this, but I am including Google Trends because I feel like I knew that it existed, but I just had never actually looked into it. And as people who work in a library or even the librarians, like we try to stay on top of what's going on around us because we really try to stay relevant and provide information to our communities. And so this is really useful, not only to just kind of cut out some of the noise and the sensationalism of like big like news outlets, but it also is just nice to see what people are searching. So when you first come to this page, trends.google.com, this is directly from Google. It gives you the search interests, like major search interests of the past 24 hours, which is interesting. It just kind of cycles through them. You can dive deeper, go into things that are curated by their trends data team, made with trends, get started, all of this. But what I really would be interested in are up here. So the trending now, when you click on that, it will give you all of these trends, the most searched things for the past 24 hours. You can even do the past 4 hours. You can do it up to a week out. And when you click on one, so if we click on this one, it will give you kind of a breakdown of the trend. It gives you some of the most searched sort of phrases or things that are associated with it. It'll give you some of it in the news. You can directly search it as well. If you click here, it'll take you to, it'll just Google search it for you, and then you can, look further into that. Unfortunately, I've been looking at this kind of for several days now in preparation to do this presentation, and unfortunately, this top one is usually kind of a down negative thing. Of course, this is about the assassinations in Minnesota yesterday. But either way, it's good to know, and you can just kind of keep on track of things here, and I really like that. You can also sort it by category. So if you wanted to kind of avoid more news like topics like that, and maybe you want to know about entertainment, there we go. The Bonnaroo Music Festival was canceled. So you could find out things that way. I will say a downside to this is that I feel like you do have to do a lot of work. Like it's a lot of it's raw data, which we know how to use raw data, but I feel like it could be a little bit troublesome to have to do that. But either way, I think it's useful. You can also go to explore up here, and for somebody like me, book talk is big for us. We try to engage with our tween and teen demographic. So if I look up something like book talk in the past 12 months, I can see interest by subregion and I can see related topics. These are rising topics, but I can also get the top topics. Again, I think there's just a learning curve to this that in general it could be a little bit misleading. But overall, I think it's a good resource. You can kind of see what's happening. You can dive deeper. Court of Thorns and Roses, big name in the book talk world still. So I think it's useful for people who are trying to kind of keep a finger on the pulse. My next one is kind of in the same vein. It's called boringreport.org. So this one is a little bit interesting. It is a news resource. It is fully AI generated. Like it's created by people, but all of these summaries are going to be AI generated. But basically, it takes the top news stories of today and it tries to like desensationalize them um, and make them into just the facts. So if I click on this top one, it's just got facts. What I really like about this one is that it puts the sources that it's pulling, even though it is AI, it gives you the sources up at the top that it's pulling from. So you still would need to be making educated conclusions about stuff like this, and you would have to have some media literacy in order to decipher what it's pulling. AI is not perfect. I know it's kind of a heated subject. So that is a con of just the whole site, is probably that it's AI generated. People don't trust AI. Maybe we shouldn't. But I do like that this just kind of boils it down to just the facts. And then you can click on these, they're links, and then you can go to the actual articles. Um, And I honestly think that, um, at the library, we are sort of a hub of information and we give, access to newspapers online and physical. And I think that this is not any like more biased than a newspaper, in my opinion. You can also categorize this by what's up here. So if I just want entertainment news, here we go. The daily astrological overview. Um, so whatever you're interested in, it's just brief to the point. These ones that only have one, it's only, it's kind of like a TLDR, like a too long didn't read. So, I think it's useful, especially if you're just wanting plain facts. If you want more information, obviously you would go and check out the actual one, but I think that's a useful tool. My final one is something called readwritethink.org. It's powered by the National Center for Teachers of English. And this is basically a giant library of classroom resources for educators and classrooms K through 12. They also have professional development resources for educators or anybody in a classroom, and the NCTE also holds conferences. You could get that information through this site as well. But the big thing that stands out to me here are these classroom resources up here. So when you go here and you do lesson plans, they've just got full lesson plans here, which is really interesting. And you can do it by grade. So let's say we had a 4th grade classroom. We can polish our preposition skills through poetry and publication. Quite an alliterative title there. So when you click on one, it gives you the author, it gives you the time, it gives you kind of all of that, an overview. It gives you some resources. Another cool thing about this particular website is that it also gives you online sources that are fully online as well as printout sources. And they're aligned with Common Core standards. So I don't remember what I said I had. Let's say I have an 8th grade classroom. It's going to give me which Common Core standards it is covering, and that is really useful. It also can be aligned with the state standards, and it just gives you an overview of that. So very useful for that. I also think this could be useful for homeschool teachers. At the library, we have a lot of homeschool teachers that kind of rely on our library to have access to resources. We have stuff like ABC Mouse. Of course, we have children's books and educator books, but I think this would be an interesting thing to point out to them as well, to just get further out. Then again, there are printouts. They give you preparation, student objectives, and then actual like step-by-step sessions, what you should be doing each session. Um, Extensions, they have assignments, you can go further. So I just think it's a really all-included resource for both classroom, like educators, but also homeschool parents. So that is it for this presentation. I appreciate you taking the time to listen, and I really enjoyed getting to know more about some online resources that are not only useful in my educational context, but I think will be useful to me in the future. So thank you.